Good morning, everybody. Welcome to All Painting My Way. My name's Rob. Hope you're having a great day. Right, today, what we're going to talk about today. Let me just put my glasses on. Look at my notes. Couldn't remember. Oil paints, of course, yes. Oil paints. One of the things that you're going to need to bear in mind if you're actually going to start oil painting, there's normally three different types of oil paint. You're going to get a student grade oil paint, which is obviously going to be your cheaper option. You're then going to get an artist grade paint, and then you're going to get a premium grade or professional, which will be the top end. So with the student grade paint, basically when you buy any paint, you're actually paying for the pigment. The pigment basically of colour, which is actually in the tube with the oil and the filler. That's the normal three things that you actually have in a tube of paint: pigment, oil and a filler, but they vary on quantities of each, which basically when you get a student grade paint, you're going to have more filler in there, which basically weakens the pigment that is actually in the tube. Then you'll come up to the artist grade paint, where there'll be less filler and more pigment, and then you get to the basically the top end, the premium or the professional grade, where there's hardly any filler if anything, and you're going to get much more pigment in the actual tube, so you're going to basically get a nice stronger colour. Now if you are buying a student grade, it will be cheaper if you are starting out, but in theory the paint won't go as far and you won't get the colours, the deep colours that you're actually looking for, because the pigment is a lot weaker. You'll probably find that you have to put much more paint on to really bring the colour out, to get the colour that you actually want. But all being said, if you are just trying out, you might want to try a student grade. I personally wouldn't recommend it, because as I say, sometimes the colours can look washed out. There's hardly enough pigment in there. It's probably just borderline for what they require to actually sell the paint. But in my opinion, I would always go for the artist grade. If you want to go like the top level and get for the premium, then obviously you'll need a bit more money, because the tubes of paint are very expensive, as I say, because you are basically paying just for the actual filler itself, not the filler, the pigment of colour in each tube, which is basically why the price goes up. Now basically the student ones, as I say, try them out. If you're going to start out with oil painting, you might find, as I've probably said in other videos, that you might try it for a few weeks and then decide that you're not actually even going to do oil painting. So at least you haven't spent too much money, and basically you tried it out and it's not for you. But if you decide that you do want to go further, what I would advise is go to the next level, which will be the artist grade. Now if you're going to buy, as an example, a student grade paint, let me think of a student grade paint. Winton is a student grade paint. It's actually made by Winsor and Newton. Winsor and Newton, well-known brand, and they'll be ideal for you trying it out as a student grade paint. If you go to the next level, which basically will be an artist grade paint, you're going to be finding names like Winsor and Newton, obviously. You're going to find Rembrandt. Rembrandt is another great make, and then you're going to find a name for the artist grade paint, Gamblin. Now I actually use Gamblin myself. I've actually got tube here, Gamblin. This is the actual paints that I use. I just prefer these. I find the consistency is ideal for my style of painting. I don't find that there's as much oil in as some paints. Some are actually filled up with quite a lot of oil. That's fine if that's your style, but I prefer these. Bit more creamy, bit more sort of buttery like, not as much oil, and I just find that these are ideal for me personally. Now I just must add, I'm not being paid by Gamblin to say that. I'm not endorsed by them. I've not got an affiliate link or anything. They're not paying me loads of money, although I wish they were. Anyone from Gamblin, if you're watching, maybe hit me up and we can have a chat. But I'm not actually being paid by them. I'm just giving you that as my preference These are the paints that I actually use. They come in all different various sizes. You've also got a solvent, which, if you can see it there, this actually says it's a solvent-free gel. There's no smell from it. This is great, this stuff. This is actually what I used for if I'm actually thinning a paint out slightly. Sometimes what you'll see is people will thin a paint out using an oil, or maybe even just dipping their brush in a bit of thinners or something like that. This stuff is great. It's basically a bit more thick in consistency. From a normal paint, it's not as thick as a standard paint. It's a little bit thinner. It's not runny or anything. In fact, let me just take the lid off and you'll see it doesn't basically drip out or anything like that. It's not that runny. In fact, if I squeeze the tube, let me just get that so you can see it. If I squeeze the tube gently, this is probably not a good idea because it's all going to end up in my lap. But you can see it there. It's basically fairly thick. It's not dripping out or anything. It's just a thick consistency. And thankfully it didn't drop in my lap. But that's ideal for basically mixing, thinning paints down slightly. If I'm basically going to put a little bit of a deep sky in or something, I might put that on the canvas first, just to help the paint flow a bit more fluidly and get a better coverage. But yeah, that's a solvent gel that I use. There's no fumes to it or anything, doesn't smell or anything, and it's great for basically using if you're in an enclosed area, if you're in a small room or something, if you're in a little study doing your painting. I would still advise opening the window if you can. Obviously if it's freezing cold, then don't. But yeah, Gamblin is my preferred paint, and that's what I would use. That is an artist grade, as I say, the Winsor & Newton, the Rembrandt and the Gamblin. If you're going to go top end and basically go for a premium or a professional, now you can have paint. There's the good old Holland is a good old professional grade paint. That's got a really strong pigment in. It's got hardly any filler in. Now I will do in a later video, what I will do is I'll put some slides up and I'll actually show you the difference of the amount of oil, the amount of pigment and the amount of fillers that go into various different types of oil paint, from the student to the artist right up to the professional grade, just so you've got an idea of the difference between the fillers and everything in there, and you'll maybe understand a bit more why the pigment goes a bit further. So again, professional grade, you've got the old Holland. You'll also have something like what else have we got? A Michael Harding. Michael Harding is a great professional artist grade paint. It's obviously a lot more expensive. You're going to pay much more money for these. I mean, for a small tube, you're probably going to pay, you could pay $60, $70, $80, $100 even just for something like that. They are expensive. Probably there's not as many people using those as your standard artist grade. Most professional artists will use the artist grade paint. They're fine for what you're actually doing. I'm just giving demonstration for different types of paint that are out there. You use what you're comfortable with. I'm not saying there is any right or wrong paint to actually use. I'm just giving my own opinion. So yes, you basically got the old Holland. You've got the Michael Harding. There's also gonna be, what else have we got as an example? Vasari. Vasari is another premium oil paint. All of these professional ones, as I say, hardly any filler, if any at all, in the paint. Just pure pigment and oil, and that way the paint will actually go much further. It's very sort of concentrated. And as I say, those basically are your main. There's lots more brands out there. I'm just giving you a sort of a few of each, basically, just so you've got an idea of what type of paint. So the cheapest one, which is the student grade, as I say, bigger tubes, less pigment. The colouring that you actually get from it won't be as good as obviously artist grade or professional. The colour will be more intense the higher up you go. But artist grade, if you're going to be doing this as a sort of a hobby or a profession even, will be fine for what you're actually doing. Student grade, as I say, if money's tight and you're just trying it out, maybe go for that. What I would advise, just go into your local art shop and tell him tell him or her or whoever's behind the counter, basically, I'm looking to start out with oil painting. I've got a limited supply of funds. I just want something to try it out, just to see if it's going to interest me, and they'll be able to give you a bit of advice. Sometimes you even do box sets of paints with a couple of little brushes and things. But basically, those are the paints, the gambling paints, as I say. These are the ones that I actually use, and these are the ones that I prefer. As I say, I'm not endorsed by them or anything, so I'm just letting you know those are my preference. So get yourself some paints. Let me know in the comments below if you're trying a different brand, if you like any brand that you actually like and you'd recommend to others, just to get other people interested, and we can all try different things. Those are the ones that I actually use. Those are the brands, as I say, that I'm just recommending out there. So student, artist, premium, three different types. Let me know what you choose in the end. Hopefully you found this video useful. I'll be making, as I say, another video later on down the line of putting some slides together with the difference between the quantities of the oil, the filler and the pigment, and hopefully you'll see that in more detail. That will be coming up soon. So hope you enjoyed today. Please give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit as many buttons as you like. And this has been Oil Painting. No, I'm Rob. This has been Oil Painting My Way. I will speak to you soon in the next video. Take care now. Bye bye.